Do do do. Hello, everybody. Oh, we have. Oh, okay. No, maybe we're good. Maybe I spoke too soon. Seems like maybe we had a connection issue for a second. Ooh. I'll watch that. I'll watch that. I know OBS needed an update, but I didn't update it yet, so hopefully it's not related to that and it's not critical, but we will see. But hi everyone, happy Friday. I hope you all are doing well. What is going on? How's Evie? I'm doing pretty good. Enjoying the fact that we are finally getting into some spring weather. Yeah. Doing all right. It has been oh wait. I should check to make sure my audio is working. I don't actually know. Okay, no. I was like, gotta double check that the microphone is working because I don't want to think I'm on the mic and then not actually be on the mic, but that is working as intended. So good stuff. So it's been a minute. I don't know. March was a weird month. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a great month. It was a terrible month. It was busy. There was a lot of random things that happened that I did not foresee happening. And yes, I'm hoping that outside of Easter weekend, which is 2 weeks away, so next Friday, the Friday after next, the 18th, I will not be streaming that day. But on the 11th and the 25th, we should be totally able to stream, and that should not be an issue. Knock on wood. So just FYI, we will be doing a stream this week and next week, and pretty much guaranteed the final week of April, but just to put that on everybody's radar. Yeah. Okay, audio is good. Good, okay. Audio is working, but there's buffering? Oh, interesting. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, I don't know what I did. Oh dear. Hopefully it's not too big of an issue. If it's like really distracting, let me know. But usually if there's an issue like that, that involves me having to like stop the stream and like restart it. So I try to avoid changing anything like that afterwards. All right, I am getting the chat loaded in here on the screen. All right, so I apparently just put a link to myself and not the actual video to maintain smooth streaming. Let's just turn that off. I don't know what I did. Meant to do the pop-out chat. I did not link to that. Dear. Whoopsie. Hopefully it's not too big of an issue. If it's like really distracting, let me know. But usually if there's... Okay. Hopefully that will no longer cause an echo. Oh my goodness. Okay, so can you tell it's been a minute? Can you tell it's been a minute since we streamed? Okay, so hi, hello everyone. My name's Evie Lupine. Here on Fridays at 6 o'clock Pacific time, we hang out and we have a little interactive Q&A. It's an 18 plus only Q&A because we do talk about adult topics like sexuality and BDSM and other things. We also talk about general LGBT stuff, pop culture things, asexuality, the whole spectrum, polyamory, dating stuff, dating apps, the whole smorgasbord of things in that general constellation. We also have some rules and an FAQ down below if you want to participate in the chat. It's very, very simple. Basically, don't spam the chat, listen to me and the mods, don't be rude, and just follow the other guidelines down there. Basically, it's really simple, and basically, all y'all need to know is that I answer questions in the order they come in the chat as best I can. If we're in like a thread of something, I will follow along with that if there's like later questions that are related to that one topic, but I try to go roughly in order. You can use a super chat if you want to like bump the line and be answered next if you would like to. And yeah, I don't answer like super personal questions. It's up to my discretion what I want to talk about or not, obviously, at any given point in time. I don't give medical advice. I can't tell you about whether or not you should go to a doctor or things like that, but I am generally open to whatever y'all want to discuss. Yeah. Hopefully not too surreal. Hopefully just a regular amount. Buffering seems to be getting a bit better for now. Okay, that's good. Flashback to COVID and Zoom calls. Oh no. Hopefully I'm a hair better than a boomer on a Zoom call. I didn't turn myself into a cat with a filter by accident, did I? I don't even think OBS has that. I'm not even sure what question you're referring to that people aren't allowed to ask. I'm not even sure. I mean, like, don't ask me super personal questions. I think generally covers that as a without inciting anyone to poke around, I suppose. Alrighty. So with that being said, we have some topics in the title of the stream that I use as sort of a rough approximation of some topics that I thought we could talk about today, but it's really whatever y'all want to discuss, whatever y'all bring into the chat. I thought, callers are a perennial thing that people like to talk about here. Spring seems to be the season of bratting. That's always a fun one to discuss. Also very popular with people. And female dominance, because, well, is femdom ever represented like anywhere accurately? So we could also have a chat about that as well, if you would like to know. Oh, yeah, that. Don't ask me about, I'm just not even gonna, don't draw attention to things that don't need to be asked about is my prerogative on that. Because if you say, absolutely never ask me about this thing ever, people who know the rules, right? Anyhow. I'm not necessarily talking about things related to me when I'm talking about callers. People shouldn't ask me personal questions about me. How about that? But callers in general. Questions about callers don't have to be about me, right? Was that the lawyer whose wife put on the cat filter, and when he tried to use it for court, he couldn't turn off the filter? Oh, yeah. I didn't know that his wife turned it on. I thought he loaded up Zoom and, like, somehow accidentally navigated over to turning on a cat filter on himself. But yes, that is what I am referring to. Correct. Yeah, that really sucks. Yeah, I'm sorry about, I know, I don't want to get into this too much because I know it's going to be probably a sensitive topic for people, but I totally get having to rearrange priorities for the time being. Absolutely. Like, yeah, what is happening with the economy right now? It's not great. We're not going to get too much into politics here because that is one of the things I don't like to talk about on the stream, because there's about 50 other people who live stream politics. If you want to go have a chat with one of them, please do. But I know that it is a difficult time for a lot of people. Okay, all right, I'm gonna get back into some questions now. Oh, I had a chat about caller with Miss today. Everything's fine, but it was a lot of stuff I didn't want to hear. Oh, sorry, Mr. Beansman. I am glad that you got to have that conversation, but I know when it's not something that, you wanted to hear, it's still rough, but I'm glad you have some answers at least, because sometimes knowing and not knowing in itself is a special type of pain. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the lip color. Yeah, I tested out. I got the NYX Ivy lip stains because Ulta was having like a buy two get one free sale or something. So I got a couple colors to try because they're really popular. And this is the darkest color after leaving it on my lips. I left it on once for probably like 20 minutes and I removed it, and then I reapplied it again, left it on for about an hour and then removed it, and then put some like clear sparkle like gloss on top of it just to see. I wanted to see how long the stain actually lasts, because I remember trying to like do lip stains and then put a gloss over them because the stains would be like really, really, really drying. So like unless you wanted to look like your lips were super chapped and uncared for, you had to put a gloss on top, but then that would just remove the stain, right? So what was the point of doing the stain in the first place? But this actually seems to be working really well for actually like staying as a stain despite having like a gloss on top of it.
Dark underscore
in
desires
preparation
donated
for my
$5.
first
In preparation for my first rope class, I wanted to practice some knots, but and noticed
like
that the rope hurts
bondage,
my
I assume.
hands even with
I wanted to
gloves on.
practice some knots, but
I have very sensitive
noticed that
Did I just buy
the
bad
rope.
rope?
Oh, like
Any
rope,
advice?
rope, of course. Rope hurts my hands even with gloves on. I have very sensitive hands. Did I just buy bad rope? Any advice? Sorry, the rope part threw me off for a second. I was like, rope class, what is that code? Like, what does that go for? You can say the word rope, by the way. YouTube is not going to censor the word rope. That one's fine. But yeah, so without knowing what kind of rope that you bought, it is entirely possible if you have sensitive skin that the rope you bought could be irritating it. There's like 3 different reasons fries could happen, all right? If you bought jute rope, if you bought cheap jute rope, or even like most of the kinds that are on the market, almost all jute rope is manufactured with something called jute batching oil, or JBO. And this is a concoction of chemicals that's put on jute rope because it's not designed to primarily have human skin contact. And nowadays you can buy JBO-free rope that is like basically the entire process of growing the jute, turning it into rope is like followed closely by the people that are turning it into rope for bondage purposes. So that does end up being free of irritants. So it could be that. Oh, thank you, Sean. Sean gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. This is your reading, so there's an echo. Oh, yeah, I know that. Yes, welcome new members. If you guys want to have a YouTube membership, they are 99 cents, and that's for a whole month, and it gets you access to all of our lovely emotes that we have in the chat. We have lots of very cute ones. We have ones of me and ones of my dog who, I even have the doggo camera plugged in, and it's right there. I just turned it off, and that's like the funniest possible framing, I think, for having her be on the camera. Yeah, I saw you, honey. You're right there. Hi, girl. Look at you. Look at you in your beautiful glory. Zoom and enhance on the dog. Look at that. So beautiful. Love her. There we go. Bandita camera unlocked. I know, I'm talking about you, honey. Hi. Oh, Beyond. Yeah. So cute. I know. Yes, got lots of emotes if you want to use them. Oh, shoot. Now I'm having drop frames. Or a slow connection. Fuck. This hasn't happened for a while. Not on the YouTube streams, at least. So, oopsie. Hopefully that doesn't continue to be a problem. Doggo, so unbothered. Just so unbothered. In any case, we do have emotes if you want to be a YouTube member, and that's literally the only reason I have memberships. It is not for anything else. It is literally because the only way to get to emotes is by having membership set up. So that's what that's for. FYI. But don't feel any pressure if you don't want to be a member. It's just a fun little thing that you can have as a bonus extra on these live streams if you enjoy participating in them. But yeah, okay. So let's get back to the rope thing. So we talked about JBO, jute batching oil, especially if you get jute from like a hardware store. Actually, don't pretty much get any rope from a hardware store. Like, it's unnecessary, especially when you don't know a lot about rope yet. It's very easy to pick out a kind that's like cheap and terrible for your skin. So jute rope can often be an irritant for people. Then there's hemp rope, which I've never had a reaction to, but because hemp rope is also a natural fiber, there are people who can have contact dermatitis from hemp rope because it's a natural fiber. You know, people have hay fever. There's an overlap there. It can happen. So it could be because of that if you have hemp rope. And then finally, with the synthetic materials, like your silk rope that's like not really silk, but it's sold as like Japanese silk rope on like Amazon or whatever, the nylon, MFP, that kind of thing, those are much less likely to be causing irritation unless it's really poorly made. However, if you're using it on the skin and you're running it across the skin quite quickly, it can cause like a burning sensation because of the fiber. It's like called burning, right? So how quickly the rope burns on your skin. So I would say if you are using a natural fiber rope, I would switch over to like a nylon, somewhere like Knothead Nylon, for example, makes really, really high quality rope. If you're using a nylon rope, I would switch over to either like a JBO-free jute rope or maybe like a linen rope if you can find that. I believe S&M rope in the UK manufactures that still. Or possibly the little bit spendier, a little bit harder to find is Posh rope, which is a sailing rope that has a lot of the qualities of natural fibers, but is synthetic without the same level of burn as a more traditional synthetic rope fiber. That's very, very strong. It's very durable. And if you want to do rope long term, if you eventually want to get into suspension, it's a great one to pick for that reason. It can be a little bit bulky with knots. Just because it doesn't collapse down as much as a natural fiber does. But if you're having irritation and you don't really know what kind of rope you got or why, and you're okay spending a little bit more, Posh rope might be a good option for you. So yes, rope irritation is very common. It just depends on the quality of rope you're buying and your own personal sensitivities. And like I haven't known anyone personally who's gotten irritation just from handling rope with their hands. But if you have allergies, if you know you're a sensitive little being to begin with, that's totally possible. Yeah. Yes, she is there. You guys don't often get this is like a unique pose. She's not often in this pose. She's normally, honestly, she spent most of her time the last like couple of days, like right there in this corner between the blanket and the frame of the patio door. That's like her favorite spot because it's a little bit cool, but she gets to see outside and watch the squirrels, and she's just like there 24/7. I want some jute and our city's first rope munch, just sharing / bragging. Ew, was it golden? was it gold rope? Did you get maybe it had like golden thread for the whipping on the ends? That's funny. I like that. Okay. All right. So I think that about covers it for the rope. Good question. Because I know that's, it's like a thing that definitely people would want to know about, but it's not always. Okay. All right. We have a super chat from Mr. Beansmint. I'm going to remember not to talk over it. Sending lots of love. Mrs. out of town this weekend, but she still set the time for when I'm allowed to take my cage off when I'm to gag myself tomorrow night. That's caretaking. I love that. That is, get a little heart for that. Yeah, because I can do that at super chats now. I can heart them the same way that I can a YouTube comment. That is a great thing to do if you're in a relationship and you have to go out of town. Maybe you're used to being in person, but somebody has to go on a business trip or take care of family or something like that. Like, it can be really busy and stressful running up to go on a trip, but setting aside time to remind your partner to do one thing, you could, if you have an Android phone, something that's really nice to do is you can actually pre-schedule messages to be sent. So, okay, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be on this like really busy like business trip for 2 to 3 days. And normally my partner and I like tell each other good morning and good night, but I'm going to be in like a totally different time zone. I'm going to be in like Japan, it's going to be crazy, but I want to make sure that they know that I'm thinking about them. So before I leave, I'm going to pre-schedule for every morning, every night, whatever combination you want to do. It could be their lunch break. Doesn't have to be morning or nighttime, right? Set up something that'll arrive to them at like their wake up time, their lunchtime to say, like, hi, sweetie, I'm thinking about you, your daddy's little princess, or like whatever terms of endearment you like to use in your relationship. And even though it's not the same as having instant contact, the way that you might in a normal setting, just knowing that they thought enough about you to send that ahead of time to pre-plan it, I think still means a lot. I mean, I can see there being people that would be put off by that. They're like, oh, it doesn't count because you like scheduled it in advance and so it's not real. But I think the forethought indicates a level of care that can mean a lot. Or even just like setting up rules of like, okay, normally every day I would pick out your outfit. I would judge how much water you're drinking. I would help you brush your teeth, whatever the caretaking habits are. Okay, instead, we're going to have this standing order for the time that I'm gone. You're going to, instead of taking a picture every single time you drink a glass of water and sending it to me, you're going to record it yourself on like a piece of paper, and then you're going to give that to me and I'll review it when I get back. Or, you know, normally you manually ask me for permission to like put a collar on and off, but instead you're going to take a photo, you know, when you put it on when you wake up, and take a photo when you take it off at night before going to bed or taking a shower or something, right? And I think that's just a nice way of maintaining that structure and order, even when there is life disruptions happening. And especially if you can pre-plan it, right? If it's like a sudden thing, we're like, oh my God, grandma's in the hospital, suddenly have to go on a flight to Ohio. Like if it's that, okay, then it's going to be hard to keep up with even that stuff. But if you know something's coming up and you have time, I imagine doing that is going to be like more fun than figuring out how many pairs of socks to bring. Well, okay, maybe if you like packing for trips, which a lot of people do. You can even have that be something you do where like your submissive comes over, they help you pack for you to get ready to go on your trip, and then as you're packing, you just have a little chit chat about like expectations while you're going to be away, you know, standing orders, that kind of thing, just to maintain a level of thoughtfulness and connection during that time being apart. She is always peaceful. That is true. She is currently licking her paw, which is one of her favorite hobbies to do. She does not like to play with any toys. She likes to lick her paws. That is it. It's the only toy that she likes. Vimeo is a backup. I have all my video content backed up on there. It's not backed up in the sense of like it'll be an alternate platform for YouTube, because there's no viewership on. It's a hosting website. It's a storage hosting website. It's not a social media platform, is what I would say about Vimeo. I don't really want to talk about that stuff, to be honest with you. Like whenever I talk about like anything related to content creation and being a YouTuber, people that are content creators give me a bunch of unnecessary advice, and it only ever ends up being upsetting, and it ends up being something, of course, I've thought about because I've been doing this for, you know, almost 10 years. So I think that's a fair question. I'm gonna hopefully sidestep any further conversations in that direction and just say, you know, to clarify, Vimeo, I'm moving to another place now, though I don't know where. I might end up actually sticking with Vimeo. I thought originally I was going to put everything on Gumroad, but then Gumroad, it turns out, is like very strict with stuff, so maybe Vimeo is the best, even if their payment processing is kind of wonky, and again, there's no like native viewership on there. Yeah, Gumroad's getting kind of like censorship heavy, so I'm not quite certain where I'm going to be hosting things long term. Because Vimeo is kind of like the Wild West. You can kind of put whatever the fuck you want on there, to be honest. But Vimeo is like hosting. Essentially, it's like external storage for my videos. And then I have some recorded classes in there that I used to sell in there, but now those things are on Gumroad. But I'm planning to do this summer. A spoiler alert for summer plans. This summer, probably starting in maybe May, because I have like 4 or 5 things I want to teach. So it would probably do May, June, July, August, and maybe September. Maybe we'll do like 5, because actually I have like 4 or 5 classes. I'm gonna do online classes, like between 4 and 6 of them. I'm doing once a month, starting in May, and then I'm gonna record them, and there's gonna be copies of those recorded classes that are like available for people. And some of them I've taught before. There's ones that are also new, either that I've done like some smaller version of, or that I've created but I've only taught like once or twice. And historically, those would go on Vimeo, but now those recordings are going to go on Gumroad. Okay, all right. I'm going to back up here. We're going to get to some more questions. I'm going to drink some water, and you all should drink some water also. We're talking about the audio. Am I Lent friendly because of animal products? I haven't given up anything for Lent, but in the context of Lent meaning you don't consume certain things, then I guess, yes, technically, I think veganism is Lent friendly. I hadn't thought about it that way before. I haven't practiced Lent in a long time. Are blindfolds part of kink? Yes. That's a very easy question. Yes. People would generally put that under the broad category of sometimes bondage, more likely sensory deprivation, though there's a lot of overlap between those two areas. As a standalone thing, the only thing you're doing is wearing a blindfold is fairly uncommon, but it's also not unheard of either. It's a good beginning thing to try for people. I wonder if the increased temperature has to do with spring being brat season, because people will get more feisty the hotter it gets. Well, I have a vague memory of like, God, this is from a psychology textbook. So, okay, it's like at least 15 years old. And I don't know if this is still accurate or not. I swear I remember hearing something about a study that did show that there's more like road rage and like incidents of assault and battery and stuff during warmer times of year. And I don't know if that is actually true or not, or just correlated with the temperature. Like, is it the same if you get like a heat wave in like April or in like February versus July or August, right? Is it the time of year? Is it the season? Is it like just the weather itself? I would be curious to know, because I do think there is, bratting happens in all seasons, but I think people maybe feel more comfortable doing kinky stuff during the summer. I mean, I've always felt that way about the summer being like, summer starts like a new lease on life. You get to try new things. It's like, I love the summer. It's my favorite time of year. The summer, actually, my favorite time of year is like late summer, early fall. Like that window right there from like August to like the first 2 weeks of October. That's like my favorite bit of the year right there. It's great weather. The one thing I don't like about it is usually things are really dry and crunchy. It's usually not very green outside if there's been a heat wave and a lot of rain. But weather-wise, it's my favorite time of year. And like the very, very, very beginning of spring is also really nice. But I usually have to deal with allergies. At least recently. It was not historically the case, but more recently, as I've gotten older, I've had more like seasonal allergies throughout the rest of the summer, so it's not quite as enjoyable. Violence increases with hotter temps. Okay, so I didn't just make that up in my head. That is actually apparently a thing. Okay, all right. So good to know. I'll have to research that and see if like there's probably somebody out there who specified, that study isn't actually that good or anything. That's actually a misreading. Like actually earlier today, I was working on a video, and I don't know if this is like spoiling what the video is about, but who cares? It's not that big of a deal. But I was reading a study because I wanted to reference. I was looking at like when we had mapped the clitoris, because it turns out nobody studied, at least not in the West, maybe in like other places in the world, but no one had done an anatomical study of the clitoris until 1998. And then we didn't figure out it was like the butterfly shape and stuff, and like have it all like 3D mapped and shit until 2005, which is crazy to me. I think maybe in 1998 we knew that it was like butterfly shaped and stuff like that, but we didn't have like the full picture until the mid-aughts, which is kind of wild. And then that led me down a different research pathway, because I know that people will often say, like in the video I made about Sabrina Carpenter, where we talked about like rad femmes and how maybe there's like this misinterpretation of, only this many, this big of a percentage of women can only come with just, penetration. So therefore no women really like just penetration. And it turns out, even in the way like the media and like science reporters were reading the study is wrong. And also it was from Debbie Herbenick, who's like, this like constantly like pops up when I'm like looking up stuff for content for my channel, like with choking and with that, especially right now, but then also apparently earlier research on orgasm. And that's where that figure comes from, that like low percentage of people allegedly that, can't, how is it phrased exactly? It's like 18%. People would quote it as though it said, only 18% of women can climax from penetration. And it turns out that's actually not the full number. The full number is like 54% or like 55% of women can have an orgasm from penetration. It just is like penetration is like alone by itself without anything else, and then penetration like with some degree of clitoral stimulation. And then the rest is like either people that primarily came through just non-penetrative stimulation, and then there was about 10% who just like didn't orgasm from any of that at all whatsoever, or at all, period. Because I think this was a self-reported study. It wasn't like doing things to women and then seeing which thing made them orgasm. That would be, I don't even know how you would do that ethically. That like you'd probably have to have people come in with their partners. I don't know. It would be weird to figure that one out. But in any case, that was a study finding, and it turns out actually it's a slim majority, but a majority of women actually can come from penetration. Crazy. And people just like quote it as though it's saying the opposite when the study actually is saying something totally different. But that happens, right? That same thing that happens with like your brain stops developing at age 25, or any of those sorts of studies out there that are oftentimes repeated but are actually just the result of people misinterpreting scientific research. So I don't really know why I brought that up exactly, but the point is orgasms are possible. People misinterpret things. My college biology classes did not teach the accurate structure of the clitoris. They taught it as being bean-shaped, and the textbook said that too. I corrected them. Oh my goodness. Was this a recent in like the last like 2 decades? Because, whoa, that's, how do you even get a textbook that is still that outdated? Because yeah, that was like a long time. For a long time, they just thought, oh, the clitoris, it's this like, this analog to the penis, and it's this little like nub, and we don't know what it does, but who cares? It seems pointless. It's just there's a specific term of biology for it when it's just a vestigial structure from evolution, right? It's what happens when you have when penis manufacturing fails, essentially, which is like, how have none of you have wives, presumably. You have wives, men who are studying this. How have you never touched it, even by accident, and then gotten a reaction from your spouse? Because I know, like, there are, like, some of the great authors of English literature definitely understood that the clitoris is involved in pleasure making. And they wrote about that in their personal letters all the goddamn time. But for some reason, scientists were just like, don't know what that does. Oh, well. Or maybe they suspected. They were like, I think they like it when that thing is touched. Well, that can't get out. That's too indecent. We can't publish that. It's too crass. It's below our station to cover such just a whorish topic. So let's not talk about that at all. Girl orgasms are like a multi-hit combo. That is a great way of describing it. Yes. My goodness. I just don't know why that's so funny to me here. Okay, all right. Maybe they really didn't have wives. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just had like a woman they married that they kept in their home to like clean their cabinets or something, and then they just like didn't ever touch them in any way. That's a distinct possibility. Maybe they were all in like lavender marriages or something. Yes, the no bandit camera was that was an accidental oversight on my part, because they have to unplug it and plug it in and turn it on, and it's a whole thing to get it reattached. Cheap rope is a form of humiliation too, is it not? I mean, I would say that if you intentionally use really cheap rope to cause someone more discomfort, it can be intentional. I don't think it has to just be humiliation, but I certainly would not be caught dead anywhere near a dungeon with like Amazon nylon Japanese silk rope, right? Ooh, I'm at a kink event, ready to speak to a dom who reached out to me. I'm nervous as hell, but ready to take the next step. Oh, you're at the event. You're in my live stream. Oh, that's okay. All right. I am very excited for you. I understand that you're nervous. Good luck. Just be yourself. It's okay to say that you're nervous. If that helps break the ice, you can, because it's going to be probably obvious anyways, right? You can just say, oh, I'm so excited to meet you. How's your day? I need to be honest. I'm a little bit nervous about meeting you, but I'm really looking forward to get to know you better. And there you go. That's that on that. So I wish you luck, chat. Wish Psycho Salad luck. It is a big to-do to meet someone and have the next steps possibly happen. Oh, okay, we got you. Don't worry. They are in fact a human being, I promise, no matter how amazing they seem or no matter how intimidating they seem in their photos, they are at the end of the day a real person. They are not an alien. They are not actually superior to you biologically in any way. They are just a human being like you. And they may also be nervous, and they also have their flaws, and it's okay. It'll be okay. You got this. All right, I will watch with rapt attention for updates from Psycho Salad, because I hopefully, I don't know if you'll have time to check in for this live stream, but definitely next week, if we're streaming, come back and let us know how it went. I'll be keeping you in my thoughts. I'll be like, that's my favorite thing to do with people. Like in my actual life is I love being like, oh my gosh, you're meeting somebody. Oh my gosh, you're going to see with them. Oh, you met a person who's really exciting, interesting. Like, I'm like, I'm so excited for them. I'm like, yay, meeting people. Cause I'm a romance person. I'm a love person. I'm a dating and relationships person. I just love healthy connections between human beings, and getting to see that happen is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Sometimes you have to run before you can walk, I guess. I guess. Well, good. Stay safe. Don't do anything too wild. And again, like I said, let us know what goes on. What was that? I'm seeing an interaction. I think I'm missing something. Did I scroll past something? I feel like I'm missing context for that. Somebody thought somebody was cheating? Oh, so did I? I think I missed something. What happened? Oh. I don't see that at all. What? I don't even know what that... I don't see even any deleted comments related to that. Yes, I was. I was like, we have to make sure a stream happens today. There's no way I'm gonna miss it again. I feel the heterosexuality leaving my body whenever I have to interact with a chaser. You know what? Fair. I have a bit in a video recorded yesterday for like 5 seconds. I quoted something, or like I said something in the way that like an alpha male would say it, like sarcastically, and I just was like, ugh. Like I shuddered afterwards. I was like, ugh. It felt like I was possessed for 5 seconds. I was like, no, get out, no. All right, I'm getting back to some questions here. Alrighty. I was scrolling around trying to look for that like comment about cheating and like a question, and I guess maybe got edited or something. I don't know. What is your opinion on the brand Eternity? So I think Eternity collars are great. I have not used one for a very long time. So way back in the day, oh god, this probably was like 6-7 years ago, and I'm comfortable talking about this, so this is fine. But a long time ago, I had an anklet that was from Eternity collars, and I wore that for a couple of years, and I liked it okay, but there were a couple of issues with it. The hinge on it was actually quite wide, like there was sort of spaces around the hinge area, so that way it could open and close. That would get caught on stuff occasionally, like if you had like a loose thread on a sock or tights, or if you did something on like bedding maybe that like would pull on threads. It wasn't ever anything that like got caught on anything super serious, but it did definitely make me think about it if I was wearing anything particularly delicate. You know, I was nervous about that. And I did have several issues with the hidden screw that's in it, like knocking itself loose over time, to the point that I needed to use Loctite on it to get it to stay in place. And then we just have to like work harder to take it off if we needed to for, you know, say going through like airport security or something like that. And I don't know if those design issues are something that happens with their collars, because I've never worn a collar from them, just the anklet. But besides that, I think their manufacturing is you know, pretty up to par. They have a good size and color selection, and I've never heard anyone make any complaints about either the quality of the build or shipping times or customer service. It's only ever been good things. So I think overall they're good. My favorite brand that unfortunately they no longer make collars because the spouse of the person who ran it passed away, and he just like didn't want to keep making collars after that, which, you know, like fair enough, is a Ring of Steel. And they made a really, really nice design that was... Well, they made the one that I wore, and then they also made like a one that had like a magnetic closure. And I felt like, well, when I was wearing that collar, I never had the screw accidentally come out of the way. I never had any issues with the hinge getting like stuck on something really major, and it overall was a lot more seamless than the anklet design was that I had been wearing previous to that. But you know, that brand doesn't make collars anymore, so don't really have a lot I can offer as an alternative. I'm sure on Etsy now there's somebody out there who is making similar collars. I know that I've seen like German, I think, for some reason, especially like there's a couple of German manufacturers who make metal collars in similar designs or like metal in some shape that I think might be a good option. Because I definitely would be interested if there was a similar design out there to their magnetic collar. That would be a really nice reference to have, because I knew somebody who wore one for a long time that they really enjoyed, and I feel like that's a good option if you want to have maybe a happy medium between like a more traditional locking collar and a plain day collar or a regular piece of jewelry. It's kind of like, okay, it's more permanent, has the look of what it would be like if you wore a permanent locking collar, but it's not as permanent, and maybe like psychologically that like matters for some reason, and also a lot easier to take on and off if you're going through like airport security a lot, doing a lot of, you know, scans on your body, doing x-rays, things like that. It's just easier for that purpose too. Did it rip the tights completely? Oh, no, it did not. It would just get caught on like a thread and then it caused like a run in the tights. It never actually ended up, like, as far as I can remember, it never like destroyed anything. It would just like pull on a loose thread if there was already like, you know, a defect somewhere. Yeah, super glue. Loctite, not super glue. Different thing there. But that was our solution for it, because the Eternity collar design, the screw would come out all of the way. And so, whereas I think with the Ring of Steel collar, it was designed so when you undid it, the screw wouldn't fall out all the way. It would just come partly out, and then you could unhinge it, and then you could screw it back in again. And so you didn't have that same problem. I know someone that has that one, and they have to have their partner take it off when they do a lot of rope stuff. Oh, the magnetic one or one of the locking ones? I have always been very pro Yelp for dating. I think I don't know why somebody hasn't made that yet. Maybe we did in like the early aughts and decided it was a terrible idea. Then maybe somebody watched the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, and then they realized, okay, this is why this is a bad idea. We cannot give people this power of technology. But I do think in certain cases it would be helpful, like a Dom Yelp, where you could just go, and we could even keep the name Yelp, because that still works. In context, it still works. And where'd my puppy go? Oh, she's in her bed. Oh. Sleepy baby. Oh, one of the locking ones? Yeah. I don't remember having to unlock mine to do rope ever, but I could see how if you're doing certain styles of things, it might be a good idea to have it be unlocked. Alrighty, I am going back to some more questions here. I've been in the community, it's from Bill. I've been in the community for a few months now. I've noticed that there's a lot of neurodivergent people in the community. I'm autistic. Is there a correlation there? Yes. I don't know why. is the answer. There is definitely some kind of correlation between being kinky and being neurodivergent. Because I know so many people in the community that are neurodivergent, like way, way above and beyond the general population. I mean, ADHD is like fairly common. It's also really highly heritable. But across any form of neurodivergence, there's just a lot of kinky people in the community. And I think maybe it's partly like neurodivergent people are more drawn to kink. And I think it's also the community is maybe something that people who are neurodivergent find to be a better social outlet for themselves, whereas people who are neurotypical maybe have a larger social structure outside of the kink world. And there's probably something to that as well. In the same way that, like, there's definitely more non-monogamous people in the kink world. There is definitely more people that have, you know, different, like, I think bisexuality is like way, way, way more common in the kink community than outside of it. And I don't think one of those things causes an interest necessarily, but I think it's just, you know, when you're one type of non-typical, then you're going to be more likely to be other types of non-typical as well. And then they all just like layer together. And I think there are people as well who like intentionally choose to pursue kinkiness as a neurodivergent person because the rules and the structure of the community and the scenes we do and how we do relationships is way better than like vanilla guessing about like, is she mad at me that I didn't pick up my socks quickly enough? Is she mad at me because I only wash my dishes and not hers? Like, is like, what's happening? You know, like you don't have to deal with as much of that in the kink world. Of course, there is always, you know, infighting and possessiveness and other issues that go on, but it's different and it can be a lot better than I think the vanilla default can be. So hopefully that answers your question, because the answer is basically yes, but I don't know why. Evie, I wanted to express my gratitude to you as my wife and I have started a DS dynamic, and your videos have been so helpful and validating. Thank you. We're both neurodivergent too. Well, thanks for adding that. Definitely more for the sample size on that. And you're very welcome. Congratulations on starting your DS dynamic. I have some... Actually, I have... What's on my... I put this on my video to-do list like earlier. Let me find it. What did I put on here earlier this week? So I'm actually going to be doing a pair of videos, and I'm going to be writing them. I'll probably be writing them this weekend unless the muses steer me in a different direction. But I'm going to be doing a comprehensive, like, starting your power exchange the right way video. That's kind of like a quicker summary of a lot of the other like independent topics that I've covered related to that. And then I'm also going to be doing how to end your DS dynamic the right way and like how to recover from a BDSM breakup. Because I do think that those are both really important topics and we should probably cover both. So I will be possibly, but if I film it this coming week, you won't see it for another probably like 3 or 4 weeks. So it'll probably be about a month, but it's in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline. Yeah. And then I also wanted to maybe, should I separate like, I think maybe I can combine like surviving the breakup and like ending the DS relationship the right way. I think we can do both. Do you have any opinion on the brand Eternity? I don't know if you saw my question in the chat. I just didn't want to talk about it. So, I just answered that. I don't know if maybe you missed it. I literally just answered it. Okay, so I will summarize my thoughts, which is I've never heard anything bad about them. I have never worn one of their collars, so I don't have any personal experience with the collar design. I don't think there's really anything other than Eternity collars that are that style that are better on the market that you can get easily in the US, but they're not like a scam or anything. So, but if you want to go back in the chat like 15 minutes, that's probably when I answered it, somewhere around there. Do you have any advice for what does that say? Oh, I am neurodivergent. For me, it's nice how open and honest people can be about their sexuality. Oh yeah, that's a big part too. Yeah, people that you can just be honest to and like you can be your whole self around, and people are gonna be like, oh my God, why are you oversharing? Why are you doing this? And knowing that people are sharing their full and honest selves with you back that's really big. Yeah. Sploot. We splonked. I don't know what to call that pose. I'm gonna call it splonking. All men need to pass a normalcy test to avoid jail time. I am still running with my theory that we should just try. We could just try it and see if it works. And as a permanent thing, just a trial period, all men start in jail. And they have to prove their way out of jail. They have to take a competency exam for human empathy before they are allowed out into daily life. That is my theory as a thing that I think we could just try, just to see if it does anything, you know? I'm not being serious, obviously, but yeah. There's also a huge overlap with the STEM community. You know, I've heard that before, and I've never known if it's where I live, because I basically have spent all of my time in the kink community in parts of the country where there's a lot of people who work in tech. And so I'm like, well, but I live in Seattle, so like the people who have the money and time to do kink stuff are probably going to be people who work in tech. Like the people I know who are like working in the restaurant business, who are doing the dinner shift, are not going to the Friday night play party because they're making steaks and being yelled at is what they're doing. They are not going to the kink parties. But I do think there is, like, but not necessarily because of the job they work. I think that's also sort of a proxy for neurodivergent people, if anything else. Yeah. I mean, I'm not on board with that idea. I'm just saying we should try. I think we should just see how it goes. It can't be that much worse than anything else we've already tried, right? Alrighty. Let's get to the question I was just about to read that I was trying to parse. Where did that go? Okay. I got it. I figured it out. My brain put the little neurons together and made that make sense. Which is not your fault, by the way. It's me. I just saw the word gag and then my brain shut off. Do you have any advice for gauging polysaturation before entering a new relationship? Ooh, because it is definitely something I feel like people mostly learn about from experience of like, oh, suddenly, oops, too many partners, like the oops, all berries Captain Crunch meme, but instead it says, oops, too many partners instead of like, oops, too all berries. So there was somebody that I overheard once at an event, and they were talking to somebody else, and this was like pre-pandemic, so it was sort of ironic because I'm sure during the pandemic they would have thought differently. But they were talking about polyamory and having a lot of partners. And they were telling the other person that they were talking to, oh my gosh, I know last week I was so relieved because so-and-so like canceled a date. And like I was a little sad about it, but I was always like, oh my gosh, I get some time to myself. And if you are approaching that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I got canceled, thank goodness, could mean not a good relationship individually, could also mean you need to have time for yourself. And I think maybe a helpful way of thinking about this is like in your calculation of what counts as being polysaturated, you should also include your duty to yourself in that mix, right? Like it's not just your partners, you are also in that too, and prioritizing yourself and your needs and time for yourself, especially if you are introverted, if you work a really demanding job, if you have a long commute, if you are doing anything that requires a lot of mental load and stress for yourself that you need to recharge from, and maybe you don't always get that from just hanging out with people, might be a good idea to calculate yourself into your polysaturation. I would say most people I know, there's like the way outliers who say they have like 5 partners, 4 partners, 9 partners. I think in order to make that happen, a lot of your partners have to be very occasional people, like basically comet relationships where like a comet, they come by occasionally. If you are only seeing somebody once a month, once every other month, not having in-depth daily conversations every single day, if you're just sort of like popping in and out, oh, hey, we, occasionally we play video games over Discord, or we talk like once every couple weeks. Like if that somehow counts as a partner to you, okay, maybe you can sustain having like 9 partners, but the people I know that have done that, like generally don't treat their partners very well, to be entirely honest with you. So I am not a fan of that. I don't think that's a good way to go about things, but to each their own. I would say most people that are doing polyamory are saturated somewhere between 2 and 4 partners as like the median of the number of partners people have. It's usually 2 to 4. And I would say if you have 2 partners, it's like pretty likely you can do a third, depending on how committed those other 2 relationships are, how much time they take up, and how much time you need for yourself. If you have 3 already and you're thinking about adding a 4th, I would be cautious. I would really look at your other relationships, and maybe you have 3 other relationships, but they're all very like tertiary. They're very on the outlier. One of them's long distance. 2 of them are like doctors. You like never see them. You're looking for maybe more like a primary relationship. So you might on paper have like 3 relationships, but none of them are like very time consuming for you. So maybe adding a 4th would like, work out just fine. It wouldn't really disturb the other relationships involved. But as far as gauging it, where you're personally at, I would say, how are you at meeting all of your partner's current needs? Like, if you have 1 partner or 2, however many you have, are you able to meet their needs time-wise, emotionally, contact-wise, currently, the way that your life is? Do you feel you have enough time to yourself? Do you feel overwhelmed by the idea of like adding another weekly date night, or adding another person you have to talk to every day, or adding someone who is in, I think this is a big one too, when you have to have, like, depending on how you have your polyamory set up, the more partners you have, the more people you need to keep track of in terms of like inform people about like condom usage, STI results, exposures, like if there's an exposure that happens, things in different relationships changing, like people moving, people saying I love you, people wanting to have a new kind of sex they weren't having before. Like that's all something that has to be updated down the chain. And you might even like have enough time for yourself, and you might have enough time for your partners, but the idea of having to loop another person into those conversations of like, here's an update, here's what's happening, coordinating test results, coordinating this, that, and the other, like that might just be like too much like paperwork essentially to make adding another person worth it. And that might be the breaking point for, oh, I'm polysaturated, I can't like do the negotiation work necessary. Like I don't have the capacity emotionally to deal with that. I don't have the capacity mentally, so therefore polysaturated. But if there's ever any hint of like, oh my God, I need time to myself, why can't I just set down my phone? It's been 2 weeks since I've had like a really good alone day to myself on like a weekend. Probably going to want to like slow down on the adding new partners thing. But it's hard to say before you get into a relationship. I think when you get into a relationship where you realize you are polysaturated with that person, it will be very obvious very quickly, because you simply will not have enough time or energy for them, or possibly for other things in your life, if you are willing to sacrifice other things in your life to try to make that relationship with that person work. It depends. But that's a really good question, because you do need to consider all those things. And I think polysaturation is something that people overlook when considering, do I want more people in my life? They just think, oh, well, but I want a person who's into this hobby, or a person that I can do this thing with, or fill this role, or somebody who wants to like build a house together. And they don't think about, the paperwork portion of it. It's the paperwork that'll get you every damn time. All right, good question. I'm moving on to the next one here. Seeing we have some more drop frames, but I haven't seen anyone in the chat be like, oh my God, I can't see anything. I think it was polysaturated at 1. Oh, that definitely happens too. If you have a very big, like, if you're getting a PhD, if you have a new baby, if you like, absolutely, there's all kinds of mental health issues that are not being addressed properly yet, or you're in the process of dealing with trauma, you totally can be polysaturated at 1, or even just like who you are as a person. Having multiple partners seemed uninteresting, but I was happy for my partner to have as many partners as they wanted. Normally capped at about 2+ for me. Uninteresting equal too much work for too little reward. Oh yeah, you just had diminishing returns on the number of partners that you were dealing with. Yeah, and I think being like intentionally monopoly in that situation where like, yeah, I mean, I could date more than one person, but I just don't feel anything bonus-wise from that, but I'm happy to be in a non-monogamous relationship in general. I think like that's something that can work really, really well. Because it's not like I think people assume that monopoly relationships are all somebody who's genuinely like deeply monogamous and like is very, very jealous and possessive and doesn't really want to be non-monogamous, but they're being forced to go through with it because their partner wants that. When there are definitely people that are polysaturated at 1, that can explore dating other people, that can feel attraction to more than one person, who is happy for their partner to see more than one person as well, but either because of life circumstances or their energy or something, or just, you know, who they are, they just don't really actually want to be with more than one person, even if they could see themselves or have been in that situation before. Do online relationships count towards a poly partnership, or doesn't it count? I don't know. Depends on who you ask, really. Like, you know, certainly I think online relationships are real. It depends, right? If it's just somebody you talk to on Twitter, sometimes you like role play in your DMs, like is that a dating relationship? Like, not to me, but it might be to you. And if you are doing something intimate with somebody else, it is something that other people in your relationships, unless you have an arrangement to the contrary, should know about. I think hiding things from other partners with like new relationships, new boyfriends, girlfriends, new dates, I think hiding any of that can be very, very damaging to a relationship. You know, my policy is if I'm talking to somebody and we're planning a date, like I'm not going to tell my partners about every single person I start a conversation with, because 9.5 times out of 10, it doesn't actually turn into a date, let alone a relationship. So until it gets to the point that I'm planning on going on a date, I like don't mention anything. But if I am planning a date with somebody, if it's getting to the point where like, oh, actually like in a week or two, we're planning on going to get a coffee or something, then I will inform people. I think with online relationships, it's trickier because you don't have that really clear delineation of like, oh, we're going on a date because it's online. But if you're getting into, you know, sexual stuff, if you're being explicit, if you're being very emotionally intimate with a person, I would definitely inform other people. And I think if that relationship is meaningful to you, then it can count, like, you know, towards the number of partners that you have. I think absolutely. It doesn't have to, but, you know, it depends on what you define as something counting as a partner or not, right? I've got the 2 partners, but that's probably largely mental illness. Oh dear. One of them is really into the idea of a body. So as a pretty happy person, I'd say exploring your shadow desire. Even just being correct all the time, it's humbling, which I appreciate. I'm definitely not correct all the time. I definitely get stuff wrong. I definitely don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I just figure things out as I go along, all right? Like, I can't figure out how to get my fucking camera to focus properly when I'm trying to take still images for YouTube thumbnails, and I've owned that camera for like 6 months, and I've tried every possible different setting I can think of on that camera to get it to work when I'm taking selfies, and I fucking can't get it to work. So I think I'm just gonna have to use my phone as a remote and try to get that to work out that way. If they're in that situation, they would have mastered being happy alone and feeling fulfilled alone. What's there to gain from pursuing more complicated forms of relationships? Companionship, I guess. Like, I think there's an idea that, well, if you're happy alone, you don't need anybody else, so therefore you would never want to be in a relationship. And like, you know, you can be happy with people and without people. And I think you can get something from both, right? It's like, well, if you really like chocolate ice cream, why'd you ever buy strawberry? Well, it's because they also like strawberry. Sometimes you only like chocolate ice cream. Sometimes you like strawberry and chocolate. Sometimes you like strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, and banana and pecan praline. And you can have all different types of arrangements you want to have. And some people like the complexity. They like having not problems to solve, but it doesn't bother them. It doesn't like deter them from wanting a human connection. And I would say I generally attract people that are also like really introverted and like fairly independent. So most of my partnerships over the years have involved people that like don't need constant human connection or contact and are okay, like, you know, doing their own thing, and they're fulfilled in their own lives and in their own ways, but they also like being with people. Because I would say if you want to be in a happy, healthy relationship, you probably want to, somebody sent a 99-cent sticker and it's a peach. Thank you. Okay. I will get to your question next, Irina. I do see it, but I'm gonna finish up this thought, and then I will get to you. But yeah, I think people should be, not have to be perfect, right? Everyone's always on a journey. But I think you should be somewhere along your healing process of feeling comfortable being in your own skin and being on your own before you pursue really serious relationships, because if you use relationships as a band-aid, it is not going to work out. But moving on to Irina's question, any advice from a poly standpoint on a play partner who became a great friend and now I have feelings for. I have never experienced things in this order. Okay, so they were play partner, they became a really close friend, and now you have feelings for, like, I'm assuming like romantic / sexual feelings. So okay, let me drink some water here. Why do people seek companionship? Because we're human beings, and that's like part of our biology, honestly. Like, that's, I think humans are like largely a group species, so that's probably why. But Irina's question. So this is why I tell people to be very cautious about getting into like no strings attached, like no feelings relationships, where you say, oh, you know, we're going to just have sex. We're not going to have feelings for each other. We're not going to do this, that, and the other, because you can't really promise that, because you can fall for people where, you know, maybe there wasn't an initial attraction there, but as you get to know them, as you see them in a different context, as you bond through BDSM or sex or whatever it is that you're doing, you do develop feelings for them that are romantic and sexual, because BDSM is bonding, because it's very vulnerable. And I think that's probably, if you're wondering what causes it, like, why am I suddenly feeling this way? One, I think people can be attracted to people in kink because of who they see people as a kinkster, separate from like base physical attraction. And when you tap into that first one, maybe if there wasn't initial physical attraction, it can like make that physical attraction like work. And also we are like attracted to people that we are familiar with. This is sort of the girl next door phenomenon, right? Like the people who are close to us that we spend time with, like classmates, like workmates, we develop attraction to them over time, often because of just repeat exposure to them. So it could just be as you spend more time with them, you learn more about them, yes, but then also because they become more familiar, they're more likely to be attractive to you. What do you do about that, though, if that does happen? Well, if your original relationship is predicated on not having certain feelings for each other, I would feel personally like I would be being dishonest if I had feelings for someone that I wasn't sharing, unless it was for a really good reason. Like if I would not want to lead someone on by making them believe that they were like just a friend to me if I had more than like a crush on them. Because it's like, if it's a crush, you know, if you just have like a little crush, you don't really necessarily have to disclose that, because that's not very durable. But if you've moved from feeling like they're a friend to like feeling a strong romantic pull towards them, I would want to disclose that and have a conversation about it. I would not say that things need to be a serious conversation on that front. Like, it doesn't need to be laying out your soul of all your deepest feelings, but I would just have like a check-in about like, you know, hey, I really enjoyed getting to play with you. I'm really happy about the friendship that we started to develop. And, you know, I need to be honest with you. I think there may be some deeper feelings developing there as well. Like you don't necessarily have to like confess your love like it's an anime or something, but I would be honest about like, hey, I'm developing things that maybe go beyond just friendship. And then they might be flattered by that. They might be put off by that. They might be feeling the same way and glad that you said it first. I think if you're at the point where you're asking a YouTuber for advice, it is probably a good indication this is a time to have a conversation and take that moment of vulnerability where either they can say no, and then you have to decide, okay, they're not returning the feelings. Can I remove myself from the feelings that I had enough to appreciate this relationship for what it is and keep it at just this level? Or is continuing to be in this relationship where I can't express the desire for the type of relationship I want to have too painful for me and I need to back off so that way I don't hurt myself by pursuing something that's not really going to be fulfilling for me? But yeah, I think you do need to talk about it, but it's a tough call. It's a tough call because, you know, it can go sideways. They might not have the response that you expect. But I think if they are a good person, if they are somebody that is worth being in a relationship with, they will at minimum appreciate the honesty and appreciate you being forthright. Especially if, like, you know, you talked about like from a poly perspective, right? Do they have other partners? Do you have other partners? Because if there's other partners involved here, if they're seeing somebody, if you're seeing someone, if you're monogamous with other people or like monogamish, then playing with somebody that has romantic feelings for you might be beyond some people's boundaries. So yeah, good luck with that. I know it's a hard one, but this does happen, especially in kink. People have maybe an initial read on someone just from like very surface level physical attraction. Then as they play, as they get to know them, as they understand them in the context of kink, they become more attractive over time. Like I've certainly experienced that. I know many other people do. And kink can be an interesting facet of people's sexual orientation and how they feel about people. Because I definitely know people that in a vanilla setting would not be attracted to like men, for example, but then with kink, they're like in a kink way, like attracted to men, right? Which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a big correlation with the sensory seeking aspect of neurodivergent. Yeah, it's a sensory seeking aspect of neurodivergence. Yes, I think that's a big part of it. I think it might just be that people who see the world differently and work differently in social norms would have more left of center sexual desires. Oh, okay, yeah, possibly that could be a thing. Ooh, Pongo. I don't know if that means like Pongo from 101 Dalmatians, but I like to believe that's what it is. Pongo asks, where do you go to meet people? I'm almost 28 and I don't leave the house. Okay, well, boy, howdy, do you have options? Okay, so if you want to leave the house, where do you go to meet people? Well, if you want to meet kinky people, the place you go is one, an internet website, as all websites are, they're on the internet, called FetLife. And you look in your local area, and you look for a thing called a munch, or a meetup, or a discussion group, or a book club, or a movie club, or dinner club, or a tea party, or something along those lines. Look for something like that in your local area. Then you go to the event, and then you meet people, and you socialize. And yes, it can be awkward. And yes, it might not be the right people immediately. But you go out and you meet people, and you maybe play a board game, or you play pinball or darts or something like that, and then you get some faces and some names, and then you go again next week, and then you meet more people. And then eventually, you try enough places, you meet enough different people, you meet a group of friends, you meet a partner, and then you go off on your merry way, and suddenly you have social connections that are good for your brain and fulfilling for you. So that's where you're going to meet people. If you want to meet people online, there's definitely options for that as well. I know there's like different Reddit groups, there's Discords, there's all different places you can go to meet people through the internet as well. But my recommendation is to go in person, not go to a play party, not go to a place where people are going to get beaten up, tied up, screaming, anything like that. Go to just a regular munch, which, by the way, just to preempt this question, and I do have videos about this, by the way, if you want to look up like stuff I've talked about with like dating, going to munches, going to your first play party, all of that, what to expect, I would watch those. But a munch is a regular meetup in a vanilla place. Everyone is wearing normal clothes. They might be talking about kinky things or dating, but they are not there to do any activities or to be nude or to cruise, anything like that. There are munches that are more like just meetups that are more cruising and hookup focused, but not, if it's called a munch, it should not be one of those. So that is my short answer on that. I also love the Bandita camera. It is one of my favorite upgrades for sure. She's so sleepy. I love her so much. Oh, you saw my video on CNC during the Kink Week? Oh, the summit? How'd you like it? I'm toying around with the idea of doing like an expanded version of like that topic, but making it not just about relationships and making it just more comprehensive overall, so I could talk about it for like 2 hours. All right, see you, Lexi. Have a good night. Summer is not great for us latex enjoyers. Oh, fair, yeah. And winter also isn't really either. Latex also gets really cold, so it's not very insulating. So maybe, like, it's insulating, but it doesn't keep you, like, doesn't hold heat in very well. Like, you get cold and clammy. You just get cold sweat trapped against your body. I'm a spring girly personally. That tracks. I'm not shocked by that at all. Oh, here's a big one. What are your thoughts on hot brands? I have one. It's my fave scar I've ever earned. Okay. So that level of scarification, my only exposure to it has been people that have like fairly large ones, and like one person who did it with like hypnosis. Like they hypnotized their partner into believing that they got a hot brand. How do you spell the brand? Oh, I'll get to that next. How do you spell the brand name of your favorite camera? I will get to that. I do see that one though. What are my thoughts on hot brands? What are my thoughts? Okay, so people who don't know, there are people in the kink world who do like strike branding and hot branding on their partners. And I know a couple people that have gotten them done that are all in like 24/7 MS relationships. This is not like a recreational casual scene thing. This was like a step above getting a locking collar. Like they had a permanent collar for a long time, and this was symbolizing like a new depth to their MS relationship, was getting this brand. And everyone I know that has gotten one done has been like, it was really emotionally powerful, but it was not a masochistically enjoyable experience. Like it was so intense. I think maybe because of the size of the ones they got done and the placement on their bodies they got it done, like they couldn't enjoy it masochistically. It was just painful. It was just a really, really intense experience that came with a really big endorphin rush afterwards. But the initial experience of having it done was not a fun time. Not something that they could pain process their way into feeling positively about. And they did like the after effects, and they did like the marking it left behind, but it would certainly not be my first choice if you haven't done other things first to symbolize a relationship, especially because, you know, I don't know a lot about how branding works, but I imagine just because of the nature of it, especially with like hot strike branding, there's just a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong, things to go too deep, things to be infectious, and probably a more controlled thing, like a scarification with like a scalpel or a tattoo, like that probably would, if I was thinking somewhere in that ballpark, I would probably personally pick one of those things first before I looked at doing a hot strike brand. But I think that they're definitely like, it's valid. Like, hey, if you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you. I think a lot of people have fantasies about it. I don't know exactly where that fantasy comes from, if it's like inspired by some particular piece of media that includes it. But yeah, it's intense, it's heavy, and I would just be cautious about leaping right to it. I think if you want something that's like a really, really teeny tiny version of that, cell popping is probably the closest. And I think that's like pretty fun to do, IMO. I also have a brand, it's smaller, and I'm a 24/7 sub. I loved it, and I'm hoping to get a bigger brand in the future too. Yeah, they got like pretty, there was like this, like pretty fucking big. Yeah. I think if it's a smaller one, if it's like, quarter sized and under, it's probably a very different experience than like fucking dinner plate sized. Yeah. I'm not going to answer that one, but thanks for the super chat. Yes, I do make lots of weird yet informative and weird yet informative content. That is me as a creator for sure. You can also do cold brands that are the cold brands that are damn near permanent. Yes, yeah. There's a whole other variety of options that you can do that are not, hey, I found this like cattle iron at a thrift store for 95 cents. You want to try it out? Like there's steps in between. Oh, goodness. What are you doing, puppy? What are you doing? Are you touching out? Staring off into the distance. Are you making eye contact with the camera? What are you doing? Are you looking at it? I think she's watching the camera. I don't know if she's done that before. So I don't know what my favorite brand of camera is. The brand that I use is Panasonic, which is PANASONIC. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm bad at spelling out loud. Panasonic. And then the brand of camera I'm using for this live stream, which I'm probably going to change the lighting again because I'm still not happy with it, and I need to find a better lighting situation because things always end up like, that's too bright now. I'm just going to turn this off. That's been driving me. I'm like, I don't know how to not make myself blind, but then also, that looks fine. Okay, fine. I'm going to stick with that. But the brand of camera I use for these live streams is Sony, which I think maybe you can just spell, but it's SONY. However, it has overheating problems, so I don't love it. And every day I live in terror that I'm going to have to go and lug out my stupid giant fan. And now just because I'm thinking about it, I'm going to check it to see if it's hot. It's a little warm back there. It's a little warm. It's not as hot as it is if it turns off randomly. Plus, I've had the heat off here basically all day. So it should be fine. I know I moved around, little puppy. I know I moved. How dare I? I know. Oh, my dog had surgery and today she's high as F on vet sedatives. Well, I hope she recovers okay. It is very funny when they're and they're drooling and they got their tongue out and everything because they're on doggy Percocet or whatever. It's very adorable. Oh, we're moving. We're on the move. Where are we going? Back to bed? Good choice. I would pick that too. Oh, my sweetie baby. He's so good. All right, that was hot brands. Do 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 do. Da, 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 da. We're back to talking about the clitoris. What's the brain development misinterpretation? So people there's a commonly cited study that people will use to prove that your brain doesn't stop developing until age 25 as a way to say, for example, why it's grooming for a 22-year-old to be in a relationship with a 27-year-old. However, that is a misinterpretation of the study. The people who wrote the study originally are we don't know where people got that from. That is not something that we ever say in our paper whatsoever. It seemingly is just a random number they picked out of thin air. Because if anything, the study that they did showed that the brain keeps developing up until the age that they stopped looking at data. So your brain is always developing the whole time. There is not one distinct cutoff point where your brain's like done cooking. There are like maybe things that like don't figure sorting themselves out until later on, but your brain is always evolving and always changing over your lifespan. And I am concerned about that because I've heard a lot of rhetoric, especially in the last like year or two, of people using that misinterpretation of the study to talk about grooming in a way that's concerningly overbroad, or to infantilize people who were in their mid-20s. And I don't know about y'all, it should be scary that we are considering not thinking about 24-year-olds as being adults with autonomy. Because, well, but their brain isn't finished developing yet. So therefore they can't date people they want to date. They can't make their own choices. They maybe shouldn't be able to vote. Like, no. How about no? Is the problem of treating a dom as a fetish dispenser a problem male doms ever have, or just femdoms? So I've talked about this before, actually a couple times. I have 2 videos on what I like to call the kink carousel problem. And definitely, absolutely. I would say the way that it gets approached is different, and the mentality behind it is different. But it is a problem of entitlement, I think. With men, it's like if it's femdoms that are seeing male submissives, it's a problem of entitlement because of like men feeling entitled to get all their sexual needs met by a woman because patriarchy. Whereas I find with female submissives who treat doms like fetish dispensers when they're with male doms, it's often because, I don't know, how do I say this? It's often because they sort of believe that a male dom wants to do anything and everything to them, so therefore any male dom should want to do any kink that they have to them / with them, and why would they have a problem with it? Like sort of a, men are simple creatures, and if you just dangle boobs in front of them, they're going to do whatever you want. Like it's almost like that kind of mentality, but applied to kink. Like, well, why wouldn't you be happy if I wanted to do this kink with you? Why wouldn't you like it if I wanted this? Like, you should just get your own satisfaction from doing this because it's a gift that I'm giving you my submission, so you should just like enjoy whatever it is. So yeah, the directions of it are different, but definitely it happens both ways. And there's also, like, because of the way that we socialize people and talk about, like, sexual consent and negotiation, it is often treated as a heterosexual dynamic where the man is supposed to be the initiator and leader of conversations and being proactive about, like, obtaining consent, asking people what they want, listening for a no, all of that. And it's not necessarily on the woman, i.e. the submissive in this case, to do that. So what happens is when a submissive is approaching a dominant for play, they don't have necessarily the idea that they should also be considering their partner's wants and needs and boundaries in that equation, because, well, isn't it their job to just, like, do that for me? Like, I'm the one who can have my consent violated. I'm the one who has boundaries as the submissive. You're just supposed to be happy with whatever I want to do. Yeah, but like I said, I have a couple videos where I've talked about this before in more detail. I've heard that phrased as a man is always eager. Yeah, that's a good way of simply putting it. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, I mean, it's the same thing that goes into like why people believe that like men can't be sexually assaulted, and especially cannot be sexually assaulted by women because, well, but if you had an erection, but you know, a man always wants it. A real man always wants it. You know, what are you, gay? Like, okay, this is why we can't progress as a society. One of, not maybe the big reason, but it's a contributing factor. It is a straw in that barrel of hay. Men having to consent is never talked about enough. Yeah, especially from that side of the slash. I think when it comes to men being submissive because they're submissive in sort of a larger kink community context, they're part of the conversation. But, you know, dominant men and their consent is, again, it's that, well, aren't you just like a monster who wants to do whatever, you know, I want to do to me because like I have to draw boundaries around your behavior because if I don't do that, you're going to hit me like a freight train and you're going to hit me like a freight train and do whatever you want to me. And it's my job to like stop you. And yeah, weird dynamic mentally that happens with that I don't think is healthy in any way. What would be examples of non-pain-based femdom? Any of the other things that you can do in kink, bondage, sensory deprivation, service submission, any sort of human pet role play, caregiver little dynamics. Yeah, there's like dress up stuff. I mean, sexual stuff also doesn't have to necessarily be anything painful either, right? Any kind of training techniques you might be doing. Body worship. Yeah, body worship, boot blacking, anything like that. Yeah, lots of options there. Doesn't like being called gay because you're not interested. I've heard many men in my life say that they have been confronted with that before. They've been accused of being such because they didn't want to do something with a person who felt entitled to their attention. Well, I'm glad you can make it for the last little bit, last half hour here, Caitlin. It has been a weird couple weeks for me, so I'm there with you. I hope you're doing okay. Yes. I'm gonna say I'm not gonna name anyone in particular, but let's just say if you insinuate in my chat that men don't really get assaulted or they don't get assaulted that often, so therefore it's not that big of a deal, or because men are also perpetrators of violence when they do get harmed, it's not as much of a problem, I will just ban you from the chat if that talk continues. That is not acceptable to me. That is just, sorry. Like, you can have your own personal feelings about men that are complicated. Don't do it in my chat, please. I know, I would be on a shadow of a doubt. I know that there are people in this chat who identify as men. I have people in my life who identify as men that have been systematically, over a course of years, sexually violated by women. Like, in a way that I don't want to describe here because I don't have permission to do so. And the idea of someone invalidating that person's experience because of their genitals is very upsetting to me. Well, there wasn't a stream last week and it was not for good reasons. I mean, it worked out okay. It was necessary. It was necessary. It had to happen, but it was not for pleasant things. I'm sorry to say. Does the supporting sex work imply that sex is a right? And if so, isn't that what an incel believes? No. What about supporting sex work implies that sex is a right? If I support there being a grocery store, does that imply that I think everyone should have free food? Like, no. I mean, I do think people should have free food, but what? I'm so confused. No, definitely not. Such an odd question. I don't know what is that supposed to mean? Oh goodness, what is that? What is this? I have a question. What does it mean when a master who actually wants me in a bondage marriage, yet not a marriage, which he wants me for only him? I think that means you have somebody who's a problem on your hands. That's what I think that means. My response to that is, I don't know what they mean by a bondage marriage. And if you don't know what they mean, you probably should be pursuing that with them. I don't think you should be going there. And if they say, if you want to be my partner, you have to agree to be bondage married to me. That's not a good sign. I would not continue to pursue that relationship. You should find someone who treats you like a whole human being first and not just like a sex object that they can project fantasies onto. In my humble opinion. Or at the very least, if they have very specific ideas about what they want to be doing, they need to be upfront with you and explain in detail about why they want it, what they want, what it means, how you're working towards that, the steps it takes to get there, all of those things. It should be very, very, very clear to you what you're working towards. Oh no, you actually spilled soup on your laptop. Oh, that sucks. Oh no. Okay, well, I'm glad that only 2 tiny components were damaged. Okay, it would have been way worse. Fingers crossed the major parts have been untouched. They look untouched. Local shop claims it can reattach tiny components like that. But yeah, they definitely can. I mean, depending on what it is, but it definitely is possible to get things fixed up if they're just like tiny parts and not, the whole S keyboard or something that needs to be fixed. I mean, even that probably would be fixable. But good luck. That's really shitty. That is the second time it has come up. You're right. And I don't know why. It feels sort of like a rad femme gotcha point, which is why I'm concerned about it. I also am very skeptical that any female politician said literally that. That seems to said that sex should be a right. That seems very sketchy to me. I don't believe that out of turn. Sorry. And I don't have time right now to Google it. But I recommend if you hear something in the news that's a headline from the New York Post that says, the former whore politician says that sex needs to be a right, government should provide free sex, and that's a headline you see, you need to go to like 5 different websites and like double check that. Yeah. Women can also be wrong. That is true. But it's the kind of scandalous misinterpretation of something to where I feel like what maybe actually is meant by that is people should have the freedom to have sex uninterrupted by the government in whatever way feels correct to them. That is what I imagine that means, is then people have the right to privacy, which includes the right to have sex with people they choose to have sex with, not a right to sex meaning give me free sex, please, government, because it's a right. Yeah. That's my guesswork on that one. Sometimes you need to jump through the fire to enjoy the burn. Yeah, it's a good one. Every time I hear that I'm intimidating as a dom, I'm so confused. I'm like super sweet and nervous myself most of the time. Yeah, I get that too. Even though I'm not a dom, I get told that I'm intimidating like quite a bit, especially the people that I'm trying to date. And I'm like, I just love my dog and I bake cakes and I make YouTube videos for a living. I don't do like Krav Maga. I'm not like a champion fencer. I don't feel like I do anything that, like, I don't drive a sports car. I don't ride motorcycles. I don't do anything that I think should count as like intimidating in any physical way. But I think I think what it is confidence. I think people, if you seem confident and sure of yourself and you present that maybe through, in your case, your dominant energy, people might misinterpret that as intimidating or imposing when really what you're doing is just like being yourself. And that's just, people sometimes read confidence in women and femme folk as intimidation because they're not used to women who seem sure of themselves, and therefore it has to be like something special and worth noting, right? Yeah, and also it could just be a right to work as a sex worker, which is a whole other thing. Yeah, a right to work without the government being fucking weird about it. Are you intimidating, or are they intimidated? Well, the latter, I think. I'm definitely not articulate, but I'm glad that you think so. Every single time I talk on a live stream, I physically remember every single time I fuck up a word. Like, that's what it's like to be a live streamer. I don't ever replay any of these live streams because they're too painful. I'm like, oh God. Oh, one of my partners said she waited 4 years to ask me out because she was too intimidated by how cool I was. I was super surprised that she would say that. Oh, that's kind of sweet though. But it worked out. I think confidence often does get internalized as intimidation by folks. Yeah, by shy folks, which is funny as somebody who is also shy. Also, thank you, Sean. Sean has gifted 5 memberships for people here in the chat. I hope that if you were waiting to get one, you got one. If you would like to get gifted a membership in the future, you can go to your settings on YouTube and you can go over to your membership settings and you can toggle on through various different directions. It depends on if you're using laptop, desktop, app, what browser you're on, all that stuff. But there is a way to turn on receiving gifted memberships if you would like to try your luck at getting one next time. Yeah, people, okay, apparently this is like a con. There's a lot of women in the chat who are like, well, I guess I don't know everyone's gender identity, I'm assuming. A lot of people in the chat are talking about how they get told they're intimidating. And you know what? Seems like a skill issue on the part of people. Not in a bad way. Not in a like, you know, oh, you're like not worth it way. If you're seen as intimidating. But, oh, people just need to have more confidence. It's ironic because I was feeling so much shy and mostly and mildly intimidated by her own confidence. Classic, and they were both bottoms lesbian meme, to be honest. Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm like Penelope Garcia in the Criminal Minds series. Oh, I've never seen that before. I'm gonna Google it. Penelope Garcia. Oh, okay. I think I've seen her in like ads for the show before. She's a technical analyst and media liaison officer. Oh. Interesting. Man, we had interesting outfits at this point in history, didn't we? That's quite, I'm looking at her like character on the wiki and like, that is certainly an outfit that somebody would wear to an office. That is definitely a look. Being confident saves a ton of money. It saves more money than therapy. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has confidence has a protective factor to it. I will say that. All right, we got about 15 minutes left. This is your 15-minute warning. I got booted to the bottom of the chat here because we had simply too many messages. So I am trying to scan for more questions, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. If you want to make sure that I answer your question, you can always use a super chat. Otherwise, I will try to get to as many as I can in the next 15 minutes. They need to get an A+ in Women Respecting 101, to get out of prison. Again, I'm not going to say no to that idea. I think we should just try it. I think we could just try it. Who's going to run the jail? Well, the women, of course, obviously. Joe Rogan. I don't know. It's permanent until you prove your way out. Oh, the trial period would be, let's try a year. I feel like a year would be fair. Oh no. Oh gosh. Okay. All right, looking for questions. If they're in a situation they would have oh no, I answered this one already. I want to move on to the next one. Online relationships. Well, that one I answered. Okay, I already went through this stuff. Some of this stuff, I think. Personally, my dream is to become a monad, utterly self-sufficient and isolated from all others, self-contained, contemplating only my own perfection. Yeah. You just want to be a monk on an island? Yeah, that'll work. That'll definitely... I mean, hey, you know what? Maybe that's the secret to human happiness. You don't know. Hi, puppy. I know. You know that it's close to me being done with the stream, huh? You can tell you're counting down in your little noggin. She knows. She knows what's up. Calling out incels equals conservative now? I don't think so. Oh yeah, we're talking about brands. I don't whisper messages. I don't know. I don't know what those are called. I'm not sure what you're talking about, unfortunately. Did YouTube crash for anyone else? Also, moderately amused I lost connection at discussing hot brands and reconnected at camera brands. That's funny. It's possible with my connection issues that something booted people, because I have seen the stream, like the stream numbers, like they'll just randomly go way up and down. So I'm assuming other people are getting disconnected and reconnected as well. So many videos lately about the crazy groomer book, Daddy's Little Toy, and the author that got arrested for it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I wasn't on... well, I don't want to fucking read it, do I? But if I just wanted to give my impressions based on the cover and the back cover, like I definitely would have made a video about it. But I am mentally restraining myself from... I need to cover... I had a couple people ask me to cover... I guess Melanie Martinez, who's a pop singer, has been accused of grooming people into DDLG, which I remember way back in the day from like the anti-CGL people on Tumblr. So that's an old one. That's way back in the old noggin there. And apparently it's cropped back up again. So I was going to make a video talking about that. And then also I was going to make a video talking about that book, because I think it's marketed as like an ABDL, like DDLG, like fantasy thing. And maybe I'll just give kind of my top level opinion on this. All right. From what I've seen it described as, from what I've read of the back and the front cover, it does seem to present some problematic ideas. And I have no idea why it popped off, because I can guarantee you that if I look through like the daddy dom caregiver whatever erotica market on Amazon, there's like probably at least 10 other books that are just like that one. So I don't know what makes this one special. And I think having unconventional, like weird, fucked up bad fantasies is like, okay. You just be real careful about how you market it. And maybe some things shouldn't be put on Amazon. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Kayla donated $20. Appreciate you as well as your content. Definitely a positive impact. Also, your fur baby's adorbs. Oh, thank you. I thank you. Bendita, they say that you're adorbs, which you are. It's true. She's getting a haircut in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Her old, almost said hairdresser, her old groomer is no longer working anymore. So I had to find a new person for her, and it's been it's been an uphill battle. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that book exactly, but like it's a balancing act, because I think, you know, people have all kinds of fantasies that are really weird and problematic. I think written erotica is probably one of the ones that should be, in my mind, the least problematic, because you're not using photos or videos of anything. Not even drawn stuff, right? And I know there's a lot of controversy about, what is it called? Not Lolita. What the fuck is it called? Lolly. That's what it is. And because my understanding is apparently a lot of the reference material is actual children, which is like, yeah, that's not good. I've seen it happen in the furry community. I remember there was something controversy in the furry community with somebody using actual children for their like furry diaper fetish porn art. I don't know. It was a little out there as a story. So I don't know how the vanilla media is covering that book at all. I don't know if it's meant to be kinky or not. I don't know. But what a time for that to go viral, huh? Great stuff. I already answered this question. I do not have any information on what a bondage marriage is because I don't know what that is. I would say if what you are looking at is a 24/7 relationship, I do have videos talking about master-slave, 24/7 MS, total power exchange. That would be what I would look for. But if somebody is telling you and you barely know them and what that even is saying, I want to be in a bondage marriage with you, my advice is to not pursue that relationship. Because you should be well aware of what those terms are way, 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 way before you ever consider being in one, in my opinion, if you want to do it well. Oh gosh, David. David donated $10. Thank you. I'm sure you've talked about this before, but how do you feel about 50 Shades of Grey? The fact that so many people like it definitely makes me think, but IDK, what's in the book, really? Okay, so I maybe have a little bit of a different opinion, and it's evolved over time. I used to be very, very hardline against it in like any way. It was like very negative about it. But I have now read the books from Christian's perspective. This is not what changed my opinion about them, for the record, just to prove that I know it's in them. But I watched all the movies, and I watched all the movies, and I read the books from Christian's perspective, and I do not like them as pieces of media. I do not think that they are good learning materials. I do not think that anyone should read them and then model a BDSM relationship off of them. I think what is demonstrated in the books and in the movies is an unhealthy relationship with unhealthy standards and expectations being set. That being said, I also understand that there are a lot of people who get into BDSM through reading those books. They've been around for a while now, so this is less the case than it was, say, like 5-6 years ago. But a lot of people find BDSM through these books, and that's perfectly valid. A lot of people get into BDSM through all kinds of different media. And just because 50 Shades is like not a good representation of BDSM doesn't mean that it's a bad thing that people got into the lifestyle, into the community because of the book. And I would say actually the majority of people that I know, I mean, because if they didn't get into the community, I wouldn't know them. But, all the people I know that got into 50 Shades of Grey and then got into the BDSM community, they really took their time with researching stuff. And at this point, if you look up how to do BDSM 50 Shades of Grey, pretty much all of the top results exclusively talk about how 50 Shades of Grey is not a good representation of BDSM and should not be research or learning material in any way. So I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst thing ever in existence. I mean, not in a universe where like Andrew Tate type people exist, right? It can't be the worst possible thing. I don't think it should ever be used as a primary resource, but I understand that like people discover things about themselves through all different avenues, and that should just be okay. Oh, thank you. Doggy treat fund. Oh, Bandita. $10 for doggy treat fund. Oh, we got a little tail wag out of it. Yeah? Yeah? Hi. We have 5 minutes left. Do you want to come up? Do you want to lay down? You just want to wag your little tail and look pretty? Come on. You want to be invited? You want to be invited. Okay, come on. I know you want to be invited, ma'am. Yeah, I know. Come over here. Come on. Other way. Oh, no, you're going. Okay, you're spinning around. Hi, you. Come here. Come on, you gotta get closer. Get closer. Yeah, there we go. We were close enough. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hi, sweetie pie. You just look like you needed an invitation to be on somebody's lap. That's what you look like you needed. All right, let's get to a couple more questions here with Bandita supervising. It remains icky if you date an age rather than a person you like that happens to be young. Oh, sure. Yeah. If you're dating someone because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this 22-year-old lets me fuck her and I'm 40 years old and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, that's fucked up and weird. Don't do that. Like, if you're just like, okay, there's a way to like consensually engage in that because there are people who have a desire to date older people, right? That are specifically into that and only that. But if you're essentializing somebody for a fetish, that's pretty much never a good thing. Unless it's very explicitly, you know, something that you agreed to ahead of time up front and you're very honest about it initially. Ooh, interesting question. Serious? Are you seeing an increase in drugs in BDSM? I was at a party and some guests were doing Molly. Oh, dear. So I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm bad at telling people are on drugs. I don't think I've ever seen, if it was at a BDSM party, like a dungeon that was for BDSM, I've never seen that before. The closest I have seen is people showing up at a party already really drunk and or high on weed. I've never seen anything harder than that at a BDSM party that was for kink, at least to my knowledge. And every single time that happened, the people either got kicked out or it was like a problem. Like at one point there was somebody who was in community leadership at an event that I think either they got high at the event or they showed up really high, like stoned. And, well, they eventually were no longer in leadership anymore. I don't know if that was as a result of that or not. Oh no, Jillian Keenan left YouTube because of safety threats. Oh, I did not know that. I was just thinking about her the other day. I was like, "Where's Jillian?" Oh no! Oh, that God, I'm. That's terrible. I hope she's okay. God, that's awful. You know, people just don't treat creators like actual human beings sometimes. Like either you're on a pedestal to people and they think that you're like better than the invention of sliced bread and like you can do nothing wrong ever, or they think that you are the scum of the earth and deserve to die and should be stalked because one time in a video they said something that you like didn't agree with. They didn't agree with. Like there's some like weird fucked up people out there who unfortunately like deal with very serious like mental illness oftentimes, and they happen to project that onto creators, and it's really unfortunate. And like I hope those people get help, but like it is scary to live in a world where like that happens. You know, that's terrible. Yeah, don't blame anyone at all for stepping away because of something like that. All right, I'm gonna try to get to one more question here. Who will the lucky person be? Let's find out. You said it was supposed to be a DDLG dynamic, but it clearly was not. I hate when people... Oh, no. Okay, so it was somebody who doesn't do DDLG, tried to write a book about DDLG, and then accidentally wrote a book that was actually about, like, grooming. Fucking great. Amazing. Oh, no. Oh, no, I lost my chat. Oh, no. Oh, what happened? I gotta reload my chat. Okay. That was not a question. We're gonna do one more. Boop, 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 boop. Hi, girl. What are you doing? Oh, no. I lost basically all of the chat. Oh, dear. All right. Have you seen the movie Baby Girl? Yes, I have. I have watched it, and I'm going to be rewatching it hopefully this weekend and taking notes on it so I can finish my video of a review of Baby Girl. So, yes. I have seen it. I liked it. It was pretty good. I think that's a pretty fair review from me. Like, I love Nosferatu. That's almost like a better kink movie. It's almost a better kink movie than Baby Girl is. Nosferatu, fucking S tier. Love it. Fantastic in every way. Baby Girl, I would tentatively put, depending on what I kind of gleaned from a rewatch, I would tentatively put like a solid B. Like, it could, like, I think I could see what people would give it a lower rating because of the story and how it ends up. But I think it did exactly what it was trying to do, and it left the correct message. But no, I've not seen any increase in like drugs and BDSM. I would say, but also it's hard because like I live in Portland and there's like a lot of burners here, and like they're doing stuff. But I find there's a pretty big separation, at least in my experience, between like people doing home parties where people are doing substances and it's very clear up front versus somebody going into a dungeon and being on drugs openly at the party that's like a big venue. Like, definitely you will see the latter. That pretty much has always been around, especially in the part of the country where I live. But yeah, that's concerning. I would not go back to a venue where that was a thing. Yeah, no, that would not make me feel safe at all. I was doing a double take because I'm not used to friends doing more than like a little weed or a drink before playing. Yeah, that's exactly like what my experience has been. Like, it's so like, I mean, can you do certain types of BDSM on like stronger substances, especially if you're used to them? Like, yeah. And actually there is a class at Kinkfest I'm excited about this year where they're going to be talking about like, I don't know if it's psychedelics in kink or if it's like general, like, you know, substance use in kink, but, you know, I've tried to talk about that on YouTube before a couple of times, and every single time I made a video about it, it gets like super like age restricted, demonetized, totally suppressed. No one sees it because it's like drug related content, even if it's educational about like essentially harm reduction. And the videos are typically me completely discouraging anybody from, you know, being under the influence and doing kink unless you know the person really well and you know the substance really well. But, you know, the YouTube's like, no, how dare you? Wrong. That's exactly my thought, Evie, at a private house party with like 4 people. I've seen ecstasy here and there, but never at a giant club, yeah. And I definitely know, like, you know, the burner world, you see a lot of people that do substances, and they shouldn't, because I feel like every time I hear about a burner doing something kinky, it goes horribly wrong. Like, it's like, oh, here, I did this substance while I was doing this thing at fucking, like, a local burn, and then, oopsie, I, like, fractured my wrist. Like, every goddamn time. Every time. And, like, if you're doing anything remotely complicated with an object, probably, yeah. Using your body, great. Maybe stick with just what's already attached to you as a person. Don't involve any implements. My dom in the community have done wonders for my body positivity. Has a lifestyle done that for you too? Yes. And actually I have an older video about this where I talk about it quite a lot. I don't know if I say body positivity because I don't know if that like was a common phrase at the time, but certainly for like confidence and feeling, you know, good in my body and like nudity in general, like absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the big advantages of the kink scene and being in the community is seeing normal people with normal bodies and not just Instagram fitness influencer bodies all the goddamn time. Like, you're like, oh, I do look normal. Cool. Like, it's definitely a positive. All right. Yeah. Anyways, it is time for me to go. I am going to go relax for the evening. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this beautiful Friday night. Hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully you got some of your questions answered. And if not, well, I will see you around next time. Again, we will be streaming next week on the 11th, but on the 18th, we will not be streaming because it is Kinkfest. So hopefully I will see you all there. If you guys are going to be at Kinkfest, feel free to say hi. And yeah, hopefully I will see you next week. Until then, stay safe, have fun, drink some water, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye. Oh, by the way, a burner is somebody who goes to Burning Man or is part of like broader Burning Man culture. FYI, just so you know. All right. Again, I will see you all later. Stay safe, have fun, have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon.